This is your City Council Roundup, a recap of what's happening at City Hall with John Ongaro. The views expressed in this program are solely of those of the host and not necessarily those of the radio station or its partners.
What we thought was going to be a barn burner of a meeting last night turned into probably one of the biggest disappointing nights that I've seen on council for some time. This is one of those times where I get a little bit frustrated over the lack of engagement and or conversation on a couple of things. The second part about that is, why do we pay experts to give us expert opinions and then not use it? Last night, there were two items on the agenda that I thought was going to lead to what I considered a very long and contentious meeting, and it didn't happen. The meeting was about an hour and a half long, maybe a little longer, but not much more than that. The biggest thing last night on the agenda was something that everybody in town has been talking about, which is another integrity report, an integrity commissioner report with some of the findings against Councillor Rajni Aggarwal and the situation that she found herself in with the Fort William Business Improvement Area. The board sent... Now, here, let me just make sure that we understand that the integrity commissioner at the very beginning of the meeting made sure to explain to council and everybody watching that this was not a trial. This was not a place for defending any actions. It was not a place for any of that. It was just the facts. They also very clearly identified the fact that everything that has been sent to the integrity commissioner is confidential. Who made the complaint, what the complaint was based on, is in the report. However, who they talked to, who they interviewed, and what they got the information from is completely confidential. There is no speaking on that.
Right.
Also in that announcement at the beginning of the meeting and from the chair of that committee, which was Councillor Folds last night, it was explained that this is not for us to debate anything other than the sanctions against Councillor Aggarwal that the integrity commissioner found. That was just to remove her from the board, the Fort William Business Improvement Area Board.
That was the recommendation.
That was the only thing that we were to discuss last night. Because if you remember when this came up before, there was a long-winded meeting and a big discussion and a lot of back and forth that included Councillor Aggarwal in defending her own actions and defending herself, and that was kind of out of order. So they set the table very early with this is what the recommendation is. This is what council needs to decide on, whether or not to accept the recommendation. Well, that's what we did. However, after the report was laid out by the integrity commissioner, it was made very clear that a couple of the councillors that spoke up first being Councillor Ayala, who broke the rules on his first question, asking basically to break confidentiality, which the question was shut down instantly. Other councillors then lined up to defend Councillor Aggarwal. One of the things that's most interesting about this is that the board alleges that she was rude, abrasive, chronically late for meetings, resulting in significant disruptions and causing delays. They also went on to say that she would be late for a meeting and then expect them to rehash the things that they already talked about. That was one of the complaints. The other complaint was that she authored a grant application to the Clean, Green, and Beautiful Committee without bringing the grant application back to the BIA for review and approval before submitting it. There was a note of conflict of interest there, as she's on that committee as well. However, that was kind of kiboshed, and we moved on. So those are the two allegations against her. The recommendation from the Integrity Commissioner was for Councillor Aggarwal to be removed from the board. That was it. That was their report. Council then stepped up and started explaining things that were happening now. That being, she had issues with members of the board, of which those members are not part of the board anymore. Right. So those people that she had the biggest issues with, or that had issues with her, are no longer on the board. Okay, so why not just stay on the board? So council had a decision to make: accept the recommendation of removing her from the board or not. Then the discussion started. And at one point, and I just want to say this, I just want to go on the record and say this because I think it's important. Councillor Aggarwal is a very strong-willed woman. She is a strong-minded, smart woman that I believe, in my heart, truly cares about the city and its progress, and like many of us, is frustrated that things, A, take too long and that we spend too much money. Councillor Agarwal is usually the one that puts her hand up and asks the questions of, where's this money coming from and what are we spending? So she is not shy, she's confident, and she's doing her best to represent the people.
I agree. Yep.
Okay, period. If you tick somebody off at a board meeting, who hasn't done that? I do it all the time. If you upset somebody at a board meeting, that's fine. And if there's issues, that's fine. But if the board has changed, and in many counselors' comments last night, the board is very happy with her now. Why are we even having this discussion? So the decision is, do you accept the recommendations or do you not? Well, because council is experts at everything, even though we pay people way smarter than all of us to figure stuff out, council oftentimes will not take those recommendations because they know better. Well, then that's when it all changed. Instead of removing Councillor Agarwal from the board or not leaving her on the board, piece of cake, easy decision, it then became a long-winded discussion about finding ways to educate the councillor on conflict resolution.
Like training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps the counselors could use some help in conflict resolution. If you've ever watched these meetings, you can cut the tension with a knife. And if anybody denies that that's happening in that room, they are not being honest.
If I can interrupt you,
Shoot.
I sensed it. I was actually going to text you because I did watch it. I sensed it right from the beginning of the meeting.
Opening comments.
The beginning of the
Councillor
meeting.
Hamilton wanted to, in the announcement section, wanted to give a plug for the fact that you can fill out all these online surveys.
No,
about the
you're not.
direction.
You can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
No.
It started from the beginning.
I felt it.
So the conflict resolution education then became on the table. Now, it was my understanding from these discussions that it was Councillor Agarwal that was going to get the conflict resolution training based on the expert opinions of our city council. Then something strange happened. Because of the way it was set up at the beginning, and this is where I don't understand, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I'll take it. But Councillor Agarwal then was given an opportunity to speak on this, and this was what I kind of got from the Integrity Commissioner at the beginning was, there is no debate here, there is no defense, this isn't a trial. But for 9.5 minutes, Councillor Agarwal went on about her role on the board, her reason for being on the board, the fact that she is spending a lot of time on it, and then basically said, if any of you want my seat, please take it.
She said that several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why she got that 9.5 minutes to talk. It doesn't matter. But she did. And then the resolution a referral came forward to add the educational component to conflict resolution, thereby saying, no, we're not accepting the recommendation. We need administration, namely the city clerk, to come up with an education or some kind of plan for conflict resolution and bring that back to council on April the 8th.
She kept bringing up the fact that Fort William BIA, that area has been neglected for years.
Well, she was very clear to
Right?
this council. And this council, half of them remember, have been there before. Nobody can ever deny that the Fort William downtown has been neglected. It absolutely has.
One of her quotes was, I gain absolutely nothing for being on that BIA.
No.
So, I mean, whether she was going to be removed or not.
You don't get paid.
But my question to you, and I don't know if we have the answers to this, you have this integrity commissioner, this report.
We pay for
that
it.
spent months preparing.
Since October.
And then gave their findings, which was recommend. Like, do you know how much we pay the integrity commissioner?
I have no idea, but
Okay.
I guess it's a price tag. They're very smart people, and they are
But
absolutely thorough. That's why we have them.
Okay, so if one gives a recommendation,
Right.
why aren't we following it? I understand it's a recommendation.
And you can
but-
ask that question to this council
Yeah.
weekly.
All right.
With people that give them recommendations that are experts.
Okay.
Fact is, we've moved this now to April the 8th. They're going to come back with educational opportunities. In Councillor Agarwal's rebuttal, I guess, it seemed to me that she assumed that the board would get additional training. I thought it was additional training for her.
I thought that's what the finding
but the
was.
board now, which is functional and doing good work, We've heard that from a number of people. We've read it online. We've heard from the people on the board. They're a highly functioning group doing a lot of great things. Why do they need training if they're doing so well? What are we doing if the board has turned over and the conflicts are gone? Move on.
Yeah.
So it was an odd outcome to something that was kind of odd from the beginning to me.
The other thing that I also noted and observed was the counselors that did speak did also say things along the lines of, hey, like, I've never had issues with her, or she's been always very kind to me.
They were all in support. Yeah.
But, and then I said, well, that has nothing to do with it.
No.
It's the report that you're looking at.
No.
You see, it's not your interactions with her.
It was your friends. It was your friends coming to bat for you. Is really what it was, which is nice to see. Mm-hmm. But also pretty interesting to see who came to bat for her.
I also want to give a shout out to City Clerk Power. I guess at one point was Googling types of training courses at one point.
Trying to figure it out.
There was a recommendation from Councillor Oliver, so she was looking at this one, and she actually mentioned that, saying, I just found one of these. So they have to come back with this report now.
I've said this a million times. I don't think the clerk gets paid enough for the amount of work that she has and the amount that she knows. It's remarkable. And thank God for her knowledge and wisdom in that room sometimes to guide these people to doing what's right. Anyway,
all right.
April the 8th.
Okay. Then I watched it. I thought you should be very proud of me, Joe.
Yeah, please. Oh, I was so proud. You didn't even text me to tell me we were watching together.
And in fact, at one point, my wife was watching it. At one point, she said, "Can you pause this? I have to go in the kitchen to grab something."
Wow.
She goes, "This is like a movie." I said, "Yeah. Where's the popcorn?" As we always joke.
Wasn't even a good meeting. Wait till the good ones come.
But then after that ended, there was a discussion about the indoor turf facility.
Well,
I changed the channel. I came back, and there was some fluff stuff.
Well,
I don't know what was happening.
It's weird, Danny? So one of the biggest price tags that we have on our horizon is a 38, let's pretend it's 38, it's not going to be, it's going to be $50 million turf facility that we've been talking about. I will again say this because I have to say it every time I bring it up, because by the time I turn off my microphone and go to my desk, there'll be hate mail. I am not against an indoor turf facility.
I get it.
I'm against a $50 million one. I'm against a $40 million one. I'm against a $30 million one. Where are the experts from Soccer Northwest that said they were going to give us one for $17 million? It never happened. It never happened. So we scrapped. Please make sure we understand the facts, which are often disputed whenever we talk about the turf facility. Please understand the facts that we spent over $1 million choosing, designing, laying out, testing the soil of Chapels. And it's in the garbage. It's never coming back. All of that work that was done to build this facility, at that time, a $50 million facility at Chapels Park, is in the garbage. It's gone. It died last year. And so Soccer Northwest, in their wisdom, with their hand-drawn sketch of what's going to go next to the auditorium, council took the bait and said, yes, $17 million, we'll build that. Here we are today at $38 million. Now, 17 and 38 is a big difference. Why is it a big difference? Let's make sure we understand the facts. The city has standards, accessibility standards, many other environmental standards, efficiency standards that Soccer Northwest, who I'm sure are great soccer players, are not engineers and are not builders. And so we took the bait and we did the work, and we went from 17 million to 38. Now, let's also remember that this council approved a resolution to cap it at 35 million. We're not spending more than 35.
But don't they have 44 million?
No, just a second.
All right.
Councillor Gertuga then put a motion forward to change that 35 to 38. What that doesn't include is the road access, is the moving of a baseball diamond, is all of the other things that have to happen around that site to make it happen. Let's stop saying the building is $38 million, because the building might be, but the work is 44. That sounds an awful lot closer to 50 than 17 does. So last night, I thought there was going to be a discussion. This council, in their wisdom, decided and passed a resolution of $38 million as a cap. Engineering came back last night with the report that says it's going to cost another $600,000.
That's right.
And the report was supposed to be brought forward last night. Wait a second. If you're going a nickel over 38 million, does that not require a resolution? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert. That's what the clerk is for. The clerk is the expert. However, now I'm getting a little twitchy because now we've already got $600,000 more on the plate. So what happens next? Well, let me tell you what happened next last night, Danny. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Councillor Hamilton was the only one to have guts to say, so just so I understand, we're going to get a business plan and we're going to, like, when is all that money stuff coming? Engineering said June 3rd. Is the best we're going to do. This is March. Now we're pushing it back to June.
I thought it was supposed to be next Monday, the 25th,
No,
with all
June.
these financials.
Yeah, no, June now.
But now it's pushed
Put
to
it
June
all together because now
finding.
there's a new 600,000 on there. But why was Councillor Hamilton, with his 15-second question, the only person that said a word last night about this? Do the other 12 people in the room not give a darn about the extra 600,000 that we're already on? That the fact that we're over and above the resolution that you already passed at 38 million? Why is this happening? And I hate to use this word, but why are you being cowards with this? What are you scared of? Ask the questions. You have a facility in front of you that was given to you with a handwritten or a hand-drawn drawing with some chicken scratch on it for $17 million. You're now at 38. A month later, you're at 38.6, and we're not talking about it? Why are we not talking about it? Why, in God's name, hasn't somebody said, just put up a bubble?
Yeah.
Well, because bubbles are not environmentally friendly. They cost a lot to operate. But they're also $30 million less than what you're proposing. But nobody says it out loud. I am not an expert. I'm not an engineer. I'm not an expert in soccer. I know how to kick a ball. That's about it. I absolutely agree that they deserve a place to play inside. I do not agree with anything in the 30, 40, $50 million range. So what happened last night? Absolutely nothing. That's why the meeting was only an hour and a half, and we'll find out what happens next in June.
Listen, this thing just keeps getting pushed back and back. Something has to be. There has to be an answer to this.
Yeah, the answer is
stop
it.
It's exhausting.
Stop it and come up with a cheaper plan.
Yeah.
Stop throwing out tens of millions of dollars worth of ideas that are not getting passed. If Chapels didn't happen, what makes you think this one's going to happen? And councillors, I appreciate that you are being lobbied until the cows come home by soccer players and people in that community. Absolutely. Again, I will say I am not against the building. I'm against the price tag.
I get it.
And the fact that there were 12 people around that table last night and 13, and only one of them has a question, and nobody else cares that we've added another $600,000 to this is a little concerning. So you have counselors, write your counselors, email your counselors, call your counselors, tell them what you think. If you're all for a $40 million building, which we all know, stop fooling yourself if you think this project is less than 50. It is not going to be. And now we've pushed it back another couple of months, which then is going to add to the price tag. What happens next? Doesn't matter. It's up to your elected officials, which, full circle, back to the original point, oftentimes don't listen to the experts and just make decisions on their own.
There you have it. March 19th edition of the City Council Roundup. John, thanks for your thoughts.
90
Appreciate
minutes.
it.
It was only 90 minutes. And I was vibrating. Like, I don't understand why we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, I don't understand that. That kind of seemed to just disappear after this integrity report.
I am happy to report, though, on
Yes.
a good note, because it's important to find some positives in these
Yes,
meetings,
yes.
because I'm accused of that often, too.
Sure.
Here's a positive.
Yes.
Whoever you called in to fix the audio, you did it. Good job last night. No
Yeah.
echoes, no issues, nobody in the clerk's office pulling their hair out trying to figure out what was going on. It sounded fine. It looked great. We're good.
See, there's
Technical
a check
issues
mark
are gone.
right there.
Check mark right there for
All
sure.
right. Also, just an FYI, if you missed part of this or you want to hear it again, we will have that up on our website, as well as something really cool. In about a half hour or so, you can actually text the word council to our T-Bay Tel Talk text line, and that will give you a direct link to what you just heard and video. It's all there, okay?
We'll see what happens next week. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, John.